Hi there. Today I lost my professional microphone home because it's busy. My wife is creating an audiobook right now, so the sound is gonna be like this. And the only topic I want to think about and talk about today is my portfolio, because yesterday half of the vlog was about my system, and then out of that system, out of that video transcript, I've already got a pretty nice material that already looks like an article ready to post, and I think I'm gonna post it soon. And as well, it was actionable. Some excerpts from there turned into some project documents that organize my work and my collaboration with AI agents. So one of the problems that I'm sort of procrastinate is creating my portfolio, because I had no job for the last probably 9 months, and that's for CV. I need to cover that somehow, and in the same time I need to showcase what I do with AI agents if I'm about to offer some consulting to the market. Maybe not consulting, but some particular projects with particular activities, like to spin up SMM, like that process I figured out yesterday. So what did I do? I did various things, and I also realized that some really minor playbooks might be more valuable. For example, URL summarization playbook is saving me lots of time. And it wasn't a one shot, because when I first set it up, at first it worked with YouTube DL, but later I found that it wouldn't work that easy, because YouTube is not very friendly to that kind of activity. So it took some iterations, and now I have that experience, and I have a really nice playbook that really works, and that prevents me collecting open tabs to watch it later, because I can quickly qualify videos. In most cases I'm getting all that I need from that summary, and that could be a problem, because the only reaction YouTube gets from me is my like, but not my view. That might be a problem, but in some cases I actually decide to watch that video, because summary contains something that tells me this particular video worth watching it. That's one thing, and one very important project that should be definitely rendered in my portfolio. Another thing is a setup, a Jarvis-like setup, and it could be difficult to actually figure out the value of that setup, because the world recently was obsessed with OpenClaw, and technically OpenClaw is more functional than MyBot, but in practice, of course, it is not about simply software. So what is my setup? Before OpenClaw was available, I've been looking for something, some engine like that, and I found that I have nothing like that available on the market. So I explored the Claude Code capabilities, and I found that it supports a so-called print parameter where you could run it from a command line, and it works the same as in interactive mode, just it works and it quits returning you the last message. So on top of that, I've added an API to deploy all that to the server, and that API, it is not simply an API, but it also contains guardrails, because I wanted to share with that agent my knowledge base that contains very important information, the information my work is based on. And of course, this knowledge base is covered with Git. The knowledge base is an Obsidian vault. It is covered with Git, and that API also implements some protocol how to communicate with our remote host, our remote repository that we use to sync up. By we, I mean this Jarvis-like bot that works on a server and runs in that session when it handles my messages, and me on my laptop. So that was designed, implemented, etc. Of course, the very API was created with an agent, was coded with an agent. For deployment, I used schemas that I already had as an engineer, because custom software deployment is still a pain. I remember the era of shared hostings. When you register in some service, you buy them some small money, and you can immediately deploy. Not just deploy, you can simply upload a PHP script, manually create a database in their UI, upload credentials, put the credentials to your config file in that PHP script, and then everything worked immediately with some domain name. And attaching a custom domain name was also simple. Today, no. Today we have builds, we have Docker, and Docker is a great thing. It simplifies deployments, but still it needs some qualification, and there is no hosting I know that allows you to deploy Docker simple. So I have my own virtual server configuration where I can deploy things simple as on a perfect hosting, but I do not have such hosting. I've configured a private server myself because I have that kind of qualification. So that's the node. It opens API, and technically at that point I might have asked the coding agent to create a Telegram bot writing that code, but I already had some convenient workflows in NA10 for Telegram connection, because again, Telegram interaction is also a problem. If you simply feed an AI agent output to Telegram, you will find that the process fails from time to time. It needs different escaping of the characters, because Telegram's markdown is not the same as all the kind of markdown. Then you need to obey the length of a message, so you need to split long messages into many somehow, and I already had all that in NA10, so I did that new piece of code that started Claude Code as an API host, then connected that API host to NA10 where the actual Telegram connection lives, and that worked. That worked pretty much conveniently. So, right, one step back about the portfolio. One item should be that summary workflow, because it worth a separate description of how it works, how it contributes the value of that thing, although the very workflow is very simple, but it's simple and yet still a product of iterations. Another thing is this setup. Again, I should focus on describing of benefits and problems solved. So for example, this trust to let the agent edit any file, but still trust it won't break anything. Maybe cover the issue with trust to reading, but I'm afraid that we should simply trust Anthropic. Fortunately, this track has the only API, no middleman, so you get the model. I get the model from Anthropic, and I use Claude Code that directly communicates with Anthropic API. Then, so yeah, and this communication is configuration is quite complex, so it could be described like what to do with Telegram, so on, but main focus should be on this safety and the value. And the value is that this is a universal framework. You can create different chats with different topics. In that those topics you can reference certain files, and those files serve as algorithms, as processes for your particular task. So it is sort of a programming. Of course, it raises issues with security, safety, and that is addressed by sandboxing, and that aspect should also be covered. I think for this configuration, and probably for every that problem, I should record some demo, and I'm not sure how much time will it get. Can I make it in one day or not? Next what? Oh, next is the publishing system. Oh, that's interesting. And I have a gut feeling that by learning marketing right now, I'm finding that trail that will lead me to my particular niche in consulting. So very likely it's gonna be easier to sell the services in that area where my current expertise is the lowest, because I decided to learn that particular field for myself, and I need that. And this way I will have fresh knowledge, fresh artifacts, and especially the knowledge on how to start relatively quickly. Maybe, I don't know, but I have two things. One thing is the content creation engine that is able to push you, that is able to render a dashboard for you, that is able to collect your ideas, that is able to process your interviews, actually separate parts of this engine could be described as different items in portfolio. It can do lots of things, so the full cycle of content creation, but not a stupid listening and social listening and reproducing third-party content, although that is also possible apparently, but extracting the real human experience. That's one thing. And another thing is that probably that's not a thing because it is not done yet. So right now I'm working on some discovery system for commenting on social media management and on SMM tasks. And very likely I'll end up with some third-party software, like now I like Trigify, a really nice thing, but maybe not that particular product. It is nice that Trigify could integrate, so it could also be injected in that agent that works with you through Telegram or Slack, if I offer that to someone else. And it is very flexible to integrate into your processes, to customize the ways it communicates with you and with your team. But maybe there are gonna be other things. I remember Typefully. For Typefully I already have a simple command shell script, not a script but a single command that an agent could use to schedule the posts and articles that I approved without opening the interface of Typify itself. Such a thing. Yeah, and definitely integrations make big difference. Do we still need web UIs? Well, in some cases, when you really need some good visualization and you're lucky enough to find a product that provides you a really nice visualization, then yes, a product with their own custom UI might be much better than the ability to get the same data and to ask your agent to do something about it. But still, that data is the main thing, because if you have data, you can generate hypotheses about your data and ask your agent to check your hypothesis on that data that you already have collected. So both are important, and in most cases you're not lucky enough to meet a product that has a really high quality UI for your particular task, for that type of analytics you need. So it is much easier to ask an agent to refresh your particular markdown file as a beginning. That's all right. Or if you need something more complex, an HTML file right in your knowledge base. So you open it in browser and you see all the graphs, all the charts you need, and you do not see what you do not need. Of course, setting up all of that is a type of work that needs a lot of attention, and it is great if you have some templates for that work. And that's the thing. That's why I expect that this type of consulting is a product, is a service. So let's go back. I have this for marketing, and I expect I'll have more. For example, another example for marketing. Keywords brainstorm. That's another started process. I haven't finished it, but it creates value everywhere. So I will definitely do that with provider, with API provider for SEO information. Will I do then SEO myself? I have plans to learn it, but maybe at that point I'll try to delegate that, or maybe it is easier than I expected to be. Then an AI agent will do it better than a random average freelancer. I don't know. We'll see. But learning search engine optimization is a low priority for me for now, but it is on the list. That's another thing I've been procrastinating since early 2000s, when I first learned that this area of expertise exists. What's next? There are definitely many processes, and another process is, this is a nice one, efficiency audit. An AI agent without any process can extract lots of information from your knowledge base if you have that setup that I've just mentioned, and if your most important information is inside that knowledge base. And for me, it is the to-do list for every day. It is the list of all the projects and project management entities. So it has the most important information. And what changed in my life, that I started to continuously every day get a feedback about how time actually flows. So how many days I've been missing which project, and the difference with algorithmic era, that in the past you were able to get a dashboard with all those expirations, but they were just a noise. AI is more human-like, so it can create narratives, it can sort information, so it can focus on the most important information and feed it to you without mentioning everything else. And that's the difference, because with AI I really read that information every day, and it affects me, it affects my behavior. With the dashboard, with a mechanical dashboard, it is really easy to simply ignore it. What's next? Yeah, that's a very important process. So these reflections, but it is not something I can sell to any company, because apparently without that history of change it's useless. But any company has some sort of history of changes in some form, so it could be adapted. The very principle is portable, but the implementation should be different. What else? Then attention management. I have lots of projects. I should calculate my PM entities in the project map, and they're much more than I can simply observe daily. That's physically impossible. And AI agent with proper playbooks. These playbooks are very complicated, and using those playbooks it manages my processes, and this system is very complex. But with AI agent it is easier to implement something that we used to maybe dream of in the era of simple human hires. AI agent could do revision, could do inspection of the state of all the projects, it can make its own human-like high-quality decisions, especially the expensive models, and this process is simple. The cheapest plan in Anthropic is sufficient to run all of those processes, even on their top model. But that's exceptionally valuable, so it could create a scrupulous report, then it could iterate and make an extraction for that day, the essentials, and then reformulate that to some human feasible narrative and send it to you. Additionally, it can collect its own memory, so if it gets rapidly from a human that you do this conclusion, but this is irrelevant to our case because that and that and that, it can absorb all that, and the next time you will get the summary considering all your previous feedback. And so after some iterations, you're getting surprised and really pleased by what it did notice in your data, in the data about your project management state. And as I mentioned on the previous process, it trains you. In my case, it compensates attention deficit. Not just compensates in the moment, also this is the main value, but it also trains me. It modifies my habits towards the better ones, the ones that I'd like to have. That's fantastic. That's a lot already. Then knowledge capturing, another thing that's very important. It is still in progress, but I definitely have what to share. You should have a simple idea box, a chat in Telegram in my case, or in Slack if it is in a company, where you could put an idea you just got, or an URL with a couple of words about why it is interesting and why you think it is relevant, or a simple URL, so the system should decide what to do with it, where to put it. Or you could simply dictate on the go what you think, and the system should capture that information, not to lose it, but also to manage your attention. The classic blocker with Zettelkasten, and the part I'm talking about is the second brain, or Zettelkasten, but for everyone. The main blocker why most of people cannot maintain Zettelkasten is that you must think about every idea. The rule is that you should capture quotes and your own thoughts separately, that you should link every idea thoroughly. That's complex, and although some ideas are still relevant, for example, AI agents won't build a tree of knowledge for you. You have to define some crystallization principles, otherwise the collected ideas will be dead. And you should define some principles of how to collect the ideas. Again, that's the point where I can only offer my consulting, because there are many principles that I already studied in past years, that I already implemented in playbooks, in real processes now, but these are transferable. The fundamental principles how to organize your knowledge base are transferable. Of course, they could be different, but I have some working template and it's just good. It could be used. And it also needs customizations, because I have my own information tree I have my own centers of crystallizations, the directions where I want to develop my business activity, the spheres of interest where I want to simply collect knowledge, thinking that maybe one day I will use that. I have projects in different states, and everyone has projects in different states, so for the active projects, some pieces of information should be captured as a current task to analyze something because it might change your strategy. And for the passive project, there should be some collection of ideas that you should probably absorb into how you see that project, but in the future they shouldn't disturb you from your current priorities because those projects are on pause. So your Zettelkasten assistant should be aware of that. And another difficult thing, probably difficult for experienced people maintaining their knowledge base, but should be simple for those who only begin, is that you should trust your agent with all of its imperfections, because you choose not between perfect capturing by an agent and perfect capturing by you and imperfect by an agent. In fact, you're choosing between imperfect capturing of information by an agent and not capturing information by you because you're overloaded. That's the real choice for many people. And if you train yourself, that's a slow process, but if you train yourself to consider your agent with your files of your knowledge base as an extension of your brain, not as a tool, but not as a second brain, as a mirror of your brain, but as a sort of exocortex. You know that this part of your brain, external brain, contains imperfect information, and so do your main brain too. You also do not know everything, you do not remember things perfectly. That's all right. But still, for having that information, not to be a dead weight, you need to develop habits. That's definitely, and that's another program. So you have to have a habit to drop your ideas via the same interface. Then you should develop habits on many key actions in projects. For example, when you switch from project to project, especially to the pending one, then you should have a ritual to ask an agent to suggest you good ideas from what you observed before. Get some insights. You don't have to read everything, that's exhausting, that will never happen, but getting really nice and interesting ideas to brainstorm things with agents is a really nice and pleasing activity, but it doesn't happen automatically. You should put some efforts into developing that habit. Let's consider it enough for Zettelkasten, but what's next? Do I remember anything ad hoc to record right now? Of course, I will then open the repository. I can ask an agent right now, but I do not want to take a video in many chunks. I can simply return home and use the desktop interface of Obsidian that is more convenient than any mobile opportunity. That's all good, that's all right. What else? But let me try to recall something, or maybe to call it a day for now. Okay, nothing really interesting comes to my mind, every scope of playbooks that I'm recalling is in any way already mentioned before in this recording. So that's it for today. See you. Stop.